Title: The Terrifying Stories You Don't Hear from the Dead. Welcome to Night Tales, where shadows whisper secrets and echoes of the past come to life. Join us as we delve into the mysteries of the unknown, where reality and the supernatural intertwine. Prepare yourself for stories that defy reason and awaken our deepest fears. From ancient legends that survive in collective memory to paranormal experiences that challenge our perception of reality. So, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and open your mind, because you are about to enter a world where anything is possible, where terror knows no boundaries. My name is Uriel Reyes, and this is Night Tales. Hello, Uriel community. I am a huge fan of the show. I listen to it while I work, and it has become a routine for me. I want to share a story that happened to me in middle school. I don't remember the exact night it all started, but I do remember it was a very cold night, around 3 in the morning. I woke up startled by the sound of pebbles hitting my window. The constant and annoying noise was accompanied by a whisper coming from a large old tree outside my window. At first, I thought it might be a prank from one of the neighborhood kids, as there were many children playing outside late at night. But soon, I realized it was something more. At the same time, every night, the neighbors' dogs would howl in a disturbing way, as if they sensed something strange, something terrifying. I tried to ignore it that first night, but the situation repeated itself every night from then on. From that point on, my health started to deteriorate. I felt weak and drained of energy. My hair started falling out, and emotionally, I was a wreck. I felt a deep sadness and constant anxiety. One day, on my way back from school, I was hit by a car at an intersection. It wasn't a severe accident, but it left me with leg pain that prevented me from going to school for over a week. What was even more disturbing was that, in the moment of the accident, I swear I saw the same woman I had seen in the tree. This time, she was dressed in a very old and dark dress, peeking out from behind a wall across the street. I was terrified and didn't know what to do. I decided to tell my mom about everything that had been happening. She was very concerned and suggested we call my grandmother, who was known for her healing abilities. We didn't have a close relationship with her because my mom was always a bit afraid of her. But upon hearing my story, my grandmother said that I had probably caught the attention of a witch, something very different from what she was. She said that the witch had cast an evil eye on me, either because I had unknowingly passed by her house or because I had done something to offend her. My grandmother asked me to recite the Magnificent Prayer, a powerful prayer against witches. She also gave me other advice, like placing open scissors under my pillow, sprinkling salt in the corners of my room, and lighting blessed candles at night. My sister, Julia, followed the advice as well and placed scissors under her pillow. But despite all our efforts, the presence of that strange bird-like creature remained. My health continued to decline, and I felt trapped in a constant state of fear. Finally, my grandmother suggested that I spend a night at her house to perform a more complete ritual. That night, she prepared a herbal bath for me, using herbs like rue, rosemary, and basil. As I bathed, we recited the Magnificent Prayer and other protective prayers. My grandmother sat in front of an altar, lit copal incense, and asked for protection from a saint. My mom and sister prayed from home and kept watch at the window. From that night on, the whispers and window knocks ceased. The neighbors' dogs stopped howling, and the atmosphere in my house returned to normal. The next day, I returned home feeling finally free from the disturbing presence and much healthier. Since then, the nights have been peaceful again. My grandmother's protection somehow managed to ward off the witch that had been tormenting me. Over time, I stopped thinking about what had happened and even forgot about it. But a few days ago, I was near my old house and decided to pass by that street out of nostalgia. That same night, when I returned to my current apartment, something woke me up at 3 in the morning. It was the sound of pebbles hitting my window and faint whispers coming from the glass. I found it quite strange because I live in a 5th-floor apartment in a building. I just hope that the old witch didn't follow me to my current home, especially now that my grandmother is no longer here to protect me. It was one of those nights when time seems to stand still, when silence feels deeper and shadows appear heavier. We were traveling on a lonely road, my family and I on our way back home after visiting some relatives. The exhaustion from the journey mixed with the monotony of the road when suddenly we heard a loud thud and a crash. One of the rear tires had blown out. My dad stopped the car as soon as he found a safe spot on the side of the road and got out to inspect the damage. After a few minutes, he decided that he would have to walk to the nearest tire shop, which he believed wasn't too far away. We stayed in the car, waiting patiently for his return. Darkness enveloped us, and the only sound was the occasional whisper of the wind passing through the nearby trees. Minutes passed in complete silence, when suddenly, my grandmother started to get restless. "Don't you hear that?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Hear what?" my mom replied, trying to stay calm. "The screams. There are so many people screaming." My grandmother's eyes filled with terror as she pointed towards the darkness. We tried to calm her down, telling her it was probably just her imagination or the adrenaline from the shock of the tire blowout. But she kept insisting, claiming that the screams were real and that they were coming from very close by. The screams, she said, were filled with desperation and suffering. "There's no one, Grandma. It's just us," I said, though I wasn't entirely convinced by my own words. Her panic started to infect us, affecting our nerves. After a while, we managed to calm her down, and she fell asleep, murmuring in her dreams. My mom and I exchanged nervous glances, trying to keep ourselves composed as we waited for my dad's return. Hours passed slowly, and the fear of the unknown, of not knowing what was out there, grew with each passing minute. Finally, just before dawn, we saw my dad's figure approaching, accompanied by a man rolling a tire. Relief washed over me as I saw him. They worked on the car, and in no time, the tire was fixed and we were ready to continue our journey. Just as we were about to leave, I looked around for the first time, taking in the surroundings that the darkness had concealed. My heart started racing as I realized that we had been parked next to an old cemetery, one of those forgotten ones where the tombstones are barely legible. I remembered then the screams my grandmother had mentioned. Before I could react or say anything, I heard my mom's voice filled with unease. "Let's go, please. I want to leave this place. I want to go home," she said, noticing the cemetery and feeling quite uncomfortable. As we drove away, I couldn't help but look back through the rear window, hoping to catch a glimpse of something or someone. But all I saw were the silent, mysterious graves bathed in the light of dawn. The experience stayed with me, and even though we never spoke of it again, I couldn't shake off the memory of those screams my grandmother claimed to have heard and the souls that may have accompanied us on that eerie night by the cemetery's edge. After that night on the road, life returned to normal, or at least we tried to make it so. Something had changed within us, especially within me. I couldn't stop thinking about the screams my grandmother had heard, about what she had said, and about the fact that we had parked next to a cemetery. I tried to focus on the presentations and meetings during the convention, but a part of me remained on high alert, expecting to see that spectral figure, that woman, around every corner or passing by my window. That night, when I returned to the hotel, I felt disturbed by nightmares. Since then, every time I book a hotel, I make sure to request a room far away from any windows facing another room or tower. I never want to experience something like that again. I still wonder who that woman was and what she wanted. Although logic tells me it had nothing to do with a ghost in that hotel, that it was just a misunderstanding or a trick of my mind, a part of me can't and probably will never forget the chilling reality of her gaze. As I reflected on the incident at the hotel, my curiosity about the supernatural grew. I became obsessed with understanding the connection between the living and the dead. I delved into books, documentaries, and online forums, seeking answers and encountering even more chilling stories. One tale that particularly intrigued me was about a haunted mansion on the outskirts of town. It was said that the spirits of the deceased residents still roamed the halls, their anguished screams echoing through the night. Determined to uncover the truth, I gathered a group of brave friends and we embarked on a paranormal investigation. Armed with digital voice recorders, EMF meters, and night vision cameras, we cautiously stepped into the mansion's eerie atmosphere. As we explored each room, the air turned heavy, and we could almost feel the presence of the restless spirits. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream reverberated through the hallways, freezing us in our tracks. It was a chilling reminder that the dead had stories to tell, stories that were often unheard, yet carried an unimaginable terror. The experience left us shaken but hungry for more encounters with the supernatural, as we realized that the realm of the dead was far more disturbing and complex than we had ever imagined. Continue the text. The Haunted Mansion investigation was just the beginning of our journey into the realm of the supernatural. Eager to explore more spine-chilling tales, we ventured into abandoned asylums, old prisons, and even ancient burial grounds. Each location had its own dark history and left an indelible mark on our souls. In one asylum, the cries of tormented souls seemed to seep into our very beings, evoking a deep sense of empathy and fear. As we delved deeper into these encounters, we discovered that the dead had more to say than just screams. We encountered spirits who whispered tragic tales of lost loves, betrayed friendships, and unfinished business. Their stories were like echoes from the past, haunting us long after we left their presence. In one particularly eerie encounter, we visited a desolate graveyard where a restless spirit was said to wander. As we approached the tombstone, a chilling wind swept through the air, and the temperature dropped dramatically. A ghostly figure materialized before us, its ethereal form pulsating with an otherworldly energy. In a hushed voice, it revealed the details of its gruesome demise, a story of deceit and treachery that had remained untold for centuries. These encounters with the supernatural taught us that the dead carry their stories with them, stories that are often silenced in the realm of the living. They yearn for acknowledgement, resolution, and sometimes revenge. By listening to their whispers and screams, we became their conduits, sharing their tales of horror and despair, ensuring that their voices were finally heard. Our experiences also shed light on the boundaries between the living and the dead. We realized that these boundaries were not as rigid as we had once believed. The spirits we encountered were not bound by time or space, freely traversing the realms to shape our reality. Their presence reminded us of the fragility of our existence and the ever-present possibility of the supernatural lurking just beyond our perception. So, dear readers, prepare yourselves for the chilling tales that await you. As you embark on this journey with us, remember that the stories of the dead hold a power that can awaken our deepest fears and challenge our understanding of the world. Open your minds and hearts, for in the darkness, the voices of the dead await, ready to share the untold horrors that lie beyond the veil. As we continued our exploration of the supernatural, we discovered a lesser-known phenomenon known as EVP, or Electronic Voice Phenomenon. Armed with our audio recorders, we captured faint whispers and eerie voices that could only be heard when played back. These ghostly recordings provided further proof that the dead yearned to communicate with the living, using any means necessary to make their presence known. In one chilling EVP session, we ventured into a dilapidated mansion rumored to be haunted by the spirit of a young girl. As we played back our recordings, we were astounded to hear a soft voice saying, "Help me. Trapped. Lost." The desperation in her voice sent shivers down our spines, emphasizing the urgency of her plea for assistance from the other side. Through our investigations, we also discovered that not all encounters with the dead were terrifying. In fact, some spirits seemed to offer guidance and protection, acting as guardians of certain places or objects. We encountered a benevolent spirit in an old lighthouse who helped lost sailors find their way home. His warm presence and reassuring whispers provided comfort in the face of the unknown. However, we quickly realized that not all spirits were friendly. In an abandoned prison notorious for its dark past, we encountered malevolent entities that emitted an aura of pure evil. Their violent screams echoed through the corridors, making it clear that they had no intention of letting us leave unscathed. These encounters served as a stark reminder that the spirit world was not to be taken lightly, and that there were forces beyond our comprehension that could inflict unimaginable horror. Our encounters with the supernatural continue to deepen our understanding of the connections between the living and the dead. We began to question the very nature of life and death, contemplating the existence of a parallel dimension where spirits resided. These thoughts led us to explore the concept of the afterlife, delving into ancient texts and religious beliefs that shed light on what happens to the soul once it leaves the earthly plane. One chilling story we came across involved a haunted monastery in a remote village. According to local legends, monks who had dedicated their lives to the pursuit of enlightenment were said to have become trapped between realms upon their deaths. These tormented souls, unable to find peace, roamed the monastery's halls, desperately seeking release from their spiritual purgatory. The haunting echoes of their chants and prayers resonated through the corridors, reminding us of the thin veil that separated the living from the dead. Intrigued by the concept of the afterlife, we began to explore different cultural perspectives. We discovered that beliefs varied widely, from the idea of reincarnation in Eastern philosophies to the existence of heavenly realms in Abrahamic religions. Each viewpoint offered its own interpretation of what awaited the soul after death, emphasizing the importance of leading a virtuous life to attain a favorable outcome in the afterlife. Our research also led us to contemplate the existence of ghosts, entities that seemed to linger between the realms of the living and the dead. Some theories suggested that these apparitions were the residual energies left behind by those who had passed away, while others believed that they were spirits with unfinished business, unable to move on. This opened up a whole new realm of possibilities as we pondered the reasons behind their presence and the messages they were trying to convey. As we delved deeper into our investigations, we realized that the supernatural was not confined to specific locations or haunted houses. It permeated all aspects of life, from the objects we possessed to the natural elements that surrounded us. We encountered haunted artifacts, possessed by the spirits of their previous owners, each with its own story to tell. These encounters blurred the line between the physical and spiritual realms, reminding us that the dead can reach out to the living in unexpected ways. Our journey into the world of the dead taught us to approach the supernatural with respect and humility. We understood that these encounters were not mere entertainment or fodder for ghost stories. In conclusion, our exploration of the supernatural has revealed the profound connection between the living and the dead. Through encounters with restless spirits, haunted locations, and chilling EVP recordings, we have witnessed the desperate yearning of the deceased to communicate with the living. These encounters have challenged our understanding of life and death, blurring the boundaries between realms and reminding us of the fragility of our existence. As we continue to delve into the mysteries of the afterlife, we must approach the supernatural with respect and humility, for the stories of the dead hold a power that can awaken our deepest fears and reshape our perception of reality.